You're listening to Estrogen Dropouts.
Welcome back to Estrogen Dropouts. I'm one of your hosts, Elizabeth.
And I'm your other host, Erin. And today we have a special guest. We have Zuzu Arms. She is a holistic health educator, author, and speaker known for her practical, science-backed approach to helping people restore and sustain vibrant health. After reversing her own epilepsy, scoliosis, and arthritis through holistic strategies, Zuzu has dedicated decades to empowering others to reclaim their health. She has presented more than 2,500 seminars, authored 4 health books, and guided thousands through transformative, action-oriented education. She is the co-founder and co-owner of Holistic Health Educators and Lily Fields Retreat Center, where she leads a global holistic health education platform serving over 45,000 wellness seekers worldwide. Her work focuses on gut and cellular healing, sustainable energy, and integrative longevity, blending lived experiences with accessible science to inspire confidence, awareness, and lasting health transformations. So welcome, Zuzu. We're so excited to have you.
You're so welcome. That was sure a mouthful. Maybe she could shorten that, I guess.
It's too impressive to shorten. So, I mean, let's be honest. You obviously are well accomplished and very knowledgeable about holistic health.
Well, I do love the human body. I did travel all of 2022 in a renovated RV that was wrapped with chromosomes and DNA and organs and glands. And in 2.5 foot, 3 foot letters, it says, "We love your guts." And because I just don't think people realize how the body works is so much simpler than they think it is. And it's incredible that when you have fear of something, it's because you don't understand it or know it. And so when people get in fear, when they're given a diagnosis about anything, I'm just here to help get rid of that fear, help understand. That's what we do, is help you understand how the body works.
Well, you couldn't be here at a more better time, because all of our listeners, primarily Gen X and some elder millennials, usually at this stage in our life, if you don't know it by now, many women are being diagnosed with autoimmune diseases, with a loss of estrogen, where all of these sleeping health conditions that we've had for years have been appearing. So what do you think is why are so many women in midlife getting sick?
I think it's honestly 2 things. I really do. Number 1 is potential of hydrogen. Most women do not have near enough minerals in the body. I literally just flew in the door to have this podcast after meeting with a woman who, oh my goodness, the allergies, the inflammation, the candida, the parasites, the muscle wasting, it's wasting in her body. It was just unbelievable, the list of things that she came in with. And I always explain the why. And so it's so acid reflux for 30 years. No one should have acid reflux more than a week. I mean, this is something you can easily reverse. And so at the end, when she went through her litany of worries and concerns, I could do nothing but want to squeeze her and bring her home with me for the next 4 months. But I said, the muscle wasting is one of the most important things to address, because she had a hard time finishing her sentences because her muscle of her tongue was so weak. And she's 56 years old. And she said, "Isn't this just normal?" And I'm like, "Honey, I'm 58. I haven't been on any medication since I got off of them 35 years ago for epilepsy. My hormones are balanced. I have incredible energy. I feel fantastic. No, this is not normal. This is a pH issue." The potential of hydrogen in her bloodstream is so different. She is lacking minerals, so many minerals. And if we think about how simple the body is, so there's a potential of hydrogen to every cell in the body, every organ of the body, and then the overall body. And that simply means the power of minerals. And we all were taught the periodic table of elements when we were little. There's hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, copper. We can sing the song, but we were never taught what those minerals do in the body. So if there's constipation or AFib, we're missing magnesium. If we have skin issues, we're deficient in selenium. And there's it's on and on and on and on. And don't worry, I've written charts and books on this, so it's easily accessible. But when we don't have a high enough pH in the bloodstream, and everybody listening, all of your blood right now, if we were to test it, is 7.365, right about 7.365 pH. You only have 3 places in the body that are acidic: the stomach, for us women, the vaginal area, and our colon. That's the only place that should be acidic. Emphasis on that. And if we don't have an acidic enough stomach, we get acid reflux. If we don't have an acidic enough vaginal canal, we have a whole litany of issues when it comes to our microbiome of our vaginal canal, and lots of UTIs and everything else. And if we don't have acidic enough colon, we have constipation. This poor woman was so acidic that, and this happens for everyone listening, all of us on the planet, if we don't have a high enough pH, then the body takes minerals out of bone structure. Super simple. Right, where's my button?
That was easy.
I love my button. Okay, anyhow, I take my button on stage and I even microphone this baby. But anyhow, like if we don't have enough minerals in our bloodstream, we're going to take it out of the bone structure, which is easy. It gives us osteoporosis or pre-osteoporotic or Swiss cheese, otherwise known as, or usually or it takes it from the muscles. So when people are on a bunch of medication and their muscles are deteriorating, that's why, because 100% of pharmaceuticals is acidic. And if you're eating a bunch of meat and a bunch of dairy and a bunch of grain, that's all acid. Those are all acidic foods. They're alkaline. Some of them are alkaline outside of the body, but when they go through digestion, they're acidic. Now, you can have meat, you can have all those things, but it needs to be in a ratio that maintains a high potential of hydrogen in the body. Minerals are always accessible in the bloodstream, and this is the point I'm getting to. All minerals on earth come from the ground. You get them from your plants, your nuts and your seeds, your beans, and some grain. So if you want minerals, you actually have to eat plants. You have to actually eat a salad. You have to actually eat asparagus. We need to be eating living foods that have all their minerals in them, because if you go boiling them, well, guess what? Minerals are water soluble. You're going to toss them down the drain when you drain your beans or your asparagus. So you lightly steam and we just get more minerals in the bone. So the number one reason I see clients is because they're mineral deficient. Everything is mineral deficiency. Every form of cancer, every bit of narcolepsy, epilepsy, everything comes down to the minerals, which are the sparks of life. Remember, right? Electrons. So magnesium has 12 electrons. That vibrates differently than potassium or calcium or boron. And those electrons are creating electricity in the body. So if we don't have the minerals, the sparks of our life, we're going to have a lot of issues. That's the number one issue. I have a number two, but I've spoken for too long. I just get excited.
So are you talking about, like, can you not do a mineral supplement like in your water, squirting like trace minerals into your water? You're talking about getting it primarily from food.
Yeah, I mean, you can throw a couple of minerals in your water, like trace minerals. And people don't realize even trace minerals are super important. Like iodine is a trace mineral. All that means is you don't need as much of it as you do a macro mineral. But without iodine, you have a thyroid disorder. 99% of all your thyroid disorders are simply because you don't have enough iodine or tyrosine, because tyrosine and iodine make T4. Pretty simple. And so if we don't have enough iodine, we're on hypothyroidism medication. Well, you probably just need iodine, like the women I work with do. And so it's kind of just understanding that trace minerals are important. Macro minerals are more, there's not one that's more important than another, by the way. You just need more of it, and you're never going to get enough of it in a squirt in your water of trace minerals. You'll get some, that's nice, but you won't be getting enough. You'll get enough that at least the water is being absorbed, because without minerals, your water doesn't absorb into the cell. And so we need minerals because the electricity is what opens up the doorways of the cell. But we need more than that. Eating vegetables, we are going to be mineral deficient. We are going to have wasting. We are going to have an issue with our microbiome. All of it comes back to the earth and looking at what comes out of the earth as the food that sustains life for all of us and all of our animal friends.
I have something to say about that, which is really just a little anecdotal story. I was eating we have a restaurant here. It's called Ted's Montana Grill. It's like bison. All the food is, they don't use seed oils. It's a very healthy place. It's owned by Ted Turner. And I happened to be sitting at the bar and this lady next to me grabbing a quick lunch. And we started talking and she's telling me, oh yeah, my doctor told me to limit my salt. This woman was literally like about as big around as a stick. As soon as she walked in, I was like, oh, she has anorexia. But anyhow, her hair was falling out. And so she tells me, my doctor told me to limit my salt. And I go, oh, I drink salt water every morning. That's the first thing I drink in the morning is hot salt water with some lemon, some local honey. And she was just saying, oh, well, you get conflicting information so much out there. And it does show you how much traditional doctors are just still steeped in things like low sodium if you have high blood pressure. No, high blood pressure oftentimes is a lack of magnesium and other minerals. And so, she's like, you just never know what to believe. My doctor's telling me this, and I'm hearing this from you. And so as we talked further, and then she basically asked me my age, and I told her, and I had already clocked her at being in her 60s. And somehow it came up about age. And then or asked me, how old are you? And then she told me she was 46,
Oh, jeez.
was so frail. I was
Mm.
like, I wanted to just like you were saying, take her home and teach her, like, this is what you do. Like, girl, you are not getting what you need in your body because her hair is falling out in clumps. She's skinny as can be. But I also wanted to, wait, hold on. No. So it was just very interesting to me that, even in this day and age, how misinformed so many people are. There's always conflicting information out there. It's like doctors say, red meat's bad for you, limit your sodium. And then we have this whole other camp that's saying, red meat is the best thing for you. You need sodium, you need all of these things. So how did you get into this line of work?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I just grew up like most normal people. My mom went shopping once a week. She'd bring home the food. I would eat every piece of fruit and vegetable she ever brought home within a day. And I had epilepsy. I was on 3 medications for that. And when went to college, I was introduced to, I'm a vocalist, and they wanted me to sing at a big telethon. And so I went and I met the person who was playing the piano for me and his family, and his wife became one of my dearest friends, and she had 12 kids. And I started going over there quite often just to visit with her and the kids. And she started making green drinks. So my first green drink was literally 40 years ago. I've been doing this for 40 years. And I remember after a couple of years of doing this, I'd gotten married and was off all my medication. I'd studied all that before the World Wide Web, that, as we all know, that existed. I thought to myself, I'm going to keep eating this way. And I started using homeopathy when I started having children. That was the only thing I used for 12 years before I really got into herbs and oils and different modalities. And I started teaching cooking classes and herbal classes and homeopathics. And I thought to myself, I'm going to live this way. So when I'm old, like 50, okay, we all laugh at that now, I know, but I'm going to be able to stand on a stage and go, hey, this works. And so I lived that lifestyle. And then I opened up, people wanted more, and then they wanted all the food. So we opened up the first non-GMO, completely organic grocery store in Wisconsin. We were in the middle of nowhere, a city of 300 people or 400 people, and we were 15 of them or 12 of them. It was super fun. And then we opened a cafe in the middle of nowhere, but people loved learning this. So it was something that just evolved and kept evolving. We opened up our school, but people love to feel well. Like a healthy, maybe you haven't heard this, but I say it quite often, a healthy man, a healthy person has many wishes, a sick person has one. And if we can bypass that, like this woman, I'm like, hands down, you need to come to a retreat. We do these 7 and 8 day and 30-day retreats. You need to come and I whipped up my phone and I showed her the picture of the bloodstream 7 days after being at a retreat. It is completely different. In 7 days, the cellular, your body will react so quickly to simple changes you might make today by drinking more water, eating more vegetables, adding more trace minerals, doing whatever it might be. You can clean the body up so quickly, and people don't realize that. And so I just got into it because I loved how I felt. I loved helping other people. And I'm happy to say I've been on a stage numerous times this year, many, many dozens and dozens, and I'm able to say, hey, this works. I actually went through menopause, didn't even know it. I didn't have a single hot flash. Fine. My whole body is normal. Like, you can, but it's because I'm a mineral machine. I eat so many minerals. And so everything that's needed to rebuild the hormones, everything that's needed for the neurotransmitters, all of that. And that's all epilepsy was for me, was my GABA. I was completely GABA deficient and my synapses weren't connecting. Well, GABA is made in the gut, but only if you have a high enough pH and you have enough probiotics and enough diversity of your microbiome. And so it was pretty simple for me to restore my GABA to a healthy concentration just using food. So I think my drive was I was able to do so much through food and movement that I just want to help as many people as we can. And that's why we're doing what we're doing.
So do you believe in, I know, like, if there's this push on social media for medicine, and it started with, we don't guess, we test. And so we test everybody. And that was like the big thing: test, 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 test before you prescribe supplements
Yeah.
and lifestyle changes and all that. But now it's shifting. to where a bunch of functional providers are saying, after charging people $1,000 for so many different tests, everybody's underlying issues are the same. So we just start treating, and we know basically everyone's missing like the same types of stuff. So where do you fall in that spectrum, and what do you think about all of this?
I love testing. I love testing for a couple of reasons. I don't do just tests. I just do consultations, and then we start them somewhere before jumping into a big regimen. Because yes, you're right. Most people don't have enough water that's being absorbed, by the way. So water needs, that said, you need to have a mineral content in order for the water to be absorbed into the body. So water is a key issue. And I preach 2 quarts by 2. Everyone, 2 quarts by 2. Just start here. 2 quarts of water by 2. And think about it. If you've got that, I call the bloodstream the lazy river. And I love the lazy river. I won't go in one because they're all chlorinated, but I'm going to build one on my 69-acre ranch over here because I want a lazy river. But so you'll have to come and lazy river with me. But if you're in an inner tube and you're connected, like attached to everyone around you, how can you be absorbing anything into the body? And I'll pull up these 2 videos quick for you because they're mind blowing. And this shows you, it actually shows you the inner tubes, right? It shows called cells. And so just check this out. So we do this live blood cell analysis. We do dark field and live blood cell for everyone who comes to one of our bigger retreats. So this is someone's blood. This is a woman's blood. Now, those are gut toxins. None of the cells look good. You can clearly see that. There's all those little black things that are bacteria. So you've got all this bacteria, all this mold, all these gut toxins. That was day 1. This is day 7. And so this is after literally just 7 days of eating well and sleeping and detoxifying the blood. Isn't that incredible? I would much rather be in that lazy river than in the first one. And so when you have everything available in the bloodstream, your cells can soak them up. But if we aren't exercising, then the cells get congratulated. If we aren't breathing and having enough oxygen, the cells get congratulated. She'd been in the hyperbaric chamber every single day, right? If we aren't eating food that is healthy and full of water and liquid and vitamins that are going to repel each other a little bit, we aren't going to have healthy. If we're eating gluten and mucus and we're eating heavy starches all day long, and then we have a drink of alcohol at the end of the night, and all that just makes a very unhealthy flow for our inner tubes called cells. And so I love testing in that I want to see what's going on in the bloodstream. So I love live blood cell analysis. I have, over $70,000 of biofeedback equipment because it works so well. And we loved using some of that. We do ultrasounds every month. We have a surgeon who works out of here who was a surgeon for 28 years. And so we do ultrasounds of all the major organs. We do thermal imaging. We love the testing. But the main reason I love testing is it is able to eliminate some things. So like the oats test is amazing. The organic acid test, I love running that on people. I love doing a microbiome test because I want to know what bacteria they have growing and what bacteria they don't, because then we can focus. Everyone's doing lactobacillus. Well, guess what? You can't do lactobacillus if you have MTHFR. You can't do any probiotics or sauerkraut or fiber if you have SIBO or SIMO. And so people are just believing everything that some cute lady with big boobs says on a Facebook or social media post, right? And I'm like, no, like those are paid actors and actresses. A lot of them get funded for what they're promoting. We need to go back to the basics. So yes, some tests are going to be amazing. The tests we really don't need. So I definitely can see both sides. And I think that functional practitioner really has to go back to the basics. Yes, we need water, we need nutrition, we need exercise. And if your people start with more water, they get proper nutrition and they start exercising, that alone for 6 weeks and then come back and let's retest, that alone can make a dynamic difference in someone's health. So I definitely can go both ways on everything, just depending on what we're looking at.
Well, you mentioned several times sorry, it's about the retreats. And so I imagine, like you said, getting good food, doing the testing, figuring out what's going on. I imagine that when somebody is there, it's definitely a rest. So speak to us about nervous system and like the burnout epidemic that is going on to where everyone is just so stressed and we're constantly being pulled in 20 different directions. So, that, and speak to us about how that type of like burnout, how it affects our hormones, how it affects us on even like an emotional and a mental level.
Yes. Okay. That is number two. So the number one reason women are sick is mineral deficiency. Number two is EMFs. Number two is the electrical environment we are all submersed in every single day of our lives. And even if you live in a remote area, if you've got a cell phone, you have electricity that your body was not designed properly to know how to handle. And it's going to affect the body. So one thing we do, I've done a lot with electricity. I do a lot with electricity. And one thing I like to teach about is harmonics, which are transients that are in the walls of your home, because we used to have a nonlinear load, right? We had linear loads, boom, boom, boom. Now we have nonlinear loads. So we went from the normal, wavelength to a bunch of CFL light bulbs and smart things and smart everything. Those are actually very dangerous. They cause a tremendous amount of static electricity in the human body. So transient electricity happens because there's dirty electricity in the walls of our home because we are bringing too much electricity into the home and not able to discard it out of the body or out of the walls of our home. So we absorb a lot of that. What happens is we don't have capacitors in our homes. In some countries, capacitors are mandated by law to have in your home, just like they're mandated in any industrial park. You must have capacitors to make sure that you're not going to fry everything you're working on or working with. So your home is grounded much better than others, but our bodies aren't grounded. And so we actually need to discharge. And if we aren't discharging to the actual physical earth, I'm not talking feel all centered and do some yoga and you're grounded. I love yoga, do it every day, but that's not grounding. That's centering. That's very different than the electrical purge of positive ions into the ground. However, because of so many transient electricity, so much dirty electricity in the walls of our home, and we're in America where they've never put up a new Y system. So we have a lot of dirty electricity dumping into the earth right outside of our home. So now it is terrible that you can go outside and you're getting electrocuted from the ground you're standing on. If you're anywhere near a windmill, oh my good gracious me, I've done so many videos on that using my body voltage meters and all of my scanning equipment. You're electrifying yourself because there's no capacitors not big enough to handle the electricity that windmills are creating or that even solar panels are creating. And a lot of this has arisen because solar panels are everywhere and solar panels cause an incredible amount of dirty electricity. We have all the meters, we've done all that study. Now, that's not something we're going to get into in this because that's long and boring and very electrical, and who wants to listen to that? But what I can say is that learning to discharge the body is extremely important. So getting a grounding sheet or a grounding mat, but you need to make sure it's actually working and not electrocuting you, because if you just plug that in because you think your walls are grounded, think again, a lot of homes are not properly grounded. So you need to get that little $8 meter that you stick on the wall and make sure it's grounded. And that everywhere I go, I bring a grounding pad with me or a grounding mat or a grounding sheet. Every hotel I test to make sure it's going to be grounded. You wouldn't believe how many Airbnbs or hotels aren't properly even grounded, and I'm not able to use that. Most hotels are grounded now, but the older ones, you always want to be testing. Standing on the earth is still very important, especially if it's by a stream or a creek or a river. That grounding is very important. Just grounding alone can radically change someone's life, especially if they immerse themselves in like a grounding pit or a grounding pod. Ancestrally, this has historically been used for millennial because when we're digging out old cities that have been covered by, landslides and the mudslides of the earth, whatever, we are finding that in the center of these archaeological digs is their fire pit. And around their fire pit, ladies, there are 6-foot-long shallow graves. Because when someone was sick, of course you brought them near the fire because you want to burn it out, and raising the temperature is something I'm very well known to do. If my kids ever got sick, which was very rare, I gave them yarrow and cayenne and put them in hot baths, and I raised their temperature to induce a fever to burn it out, and they were better the next day. But they also were grounding in these pits. So they would be half naked in the pit, and then they would literally be by the fire, and the whole community would come out and bang beautiful drums and bowls and Tibetan bowls and singing bowls, and they would chant, and that person would be able to feel better because they're getting immersed in frequencies. So just talking about this, doesn't this make you want to go by the fireplace and lay on a grounding mat and put on some great music? Like, don't you just want to That sounds so refreshing. It really is. So going out to the pond and taking time to get into Mother Nature. Amy and I always teased about this because what Japan spent 45,000 or $45 million doing a research project on how important it was to be outside for 45 minutes a day in the woods. And I was like, I could have used the money and to build my big center, and I could have told you that in probably 3 minutes with just a little science, but so for us every day, because I'm here with all the lights and the TV looking at you, through my monster, screens. I have my cell phone. We all use computers. We're around that. So just learning how to discharge, and I teach something called time distance shielding and nutrition, TDSN. How much time are we in front of all the computers or next to the cell phone or the router? I do advocate to get rid of your router, get rid of Wi-Fi as much as you possibly can. Don't sit by a Starbucks, mainly because I've spent so many decades working with cancer, and a cancer cell grows 1,632 times faster when exposed to pulsing technology. So anybody listening who has cancer, you go home, you turn off that Wi-Fi, you don't go sit into any kind of restaurant that everybody's sitting there with their phones going. You need to remove yourself from a high electrical environment to reduce inflammation, get rid of cancer, help the body heal. That is just factual. That's just science. So time, distance, how far are you away from your electrical equipment? Shielding, are you using any shielding? I had epilepsy, so I've met with many, many, many thousands of people who have epilepsy or Tourette's or seizures. And one of the number one things we recommend is to turn off Wi-Fi, or if you can't, build a box that 5 sides of it is shielded with metal, and put your router in there so that the router's only amplifying through one side of it, and that can be towards your office. I have had child after adult stop having seizures when the Wi-Fi is turned off in their home. And this is very, very often the case. Their headboard is against the wall of their bedroom. Well, if you've got a metal bed against a wall full of dirty electricity, guess where that electricity is going to be circulating? Through you. So they pull the bed away from the wall, they turn off their Wi-Fi, and boom, they're sleeping better than they ever have. I've had people turn off the breaker to the bedroom and that part of the home, and boom, they're sleeping better than ever. So I think we just don't realize the electrical environment that we're in. And like I said, I studied this for decades. I actually own a book that is out of print, worth probably tens of thousands of dollars right now. It was worth $5,000 or $8,000 10 years, 20 years ago. But it has the research done, unedited, by at least 8 different countries on the dangers of EMFs dating back to these. So they
wow.
know. They had the studies that the US Navy did. They have the studies that Europe did. They had the studies that Bangladesh, all these different countries have been studying the dangers of pulsing technology for decades. And none of you have the access to that. And there's actually a long story as to why you don't, but it's very evil. That's actually dark, because you have senators, you have congressmen, you have people who cannot access this information. And if they do, they can access it for $20,000 or $40,000, but they have to sign NDAs. They can't disclose any of it to anybody they see. So there's just a lot of information we don't have. Okay, we don't get it. We have some, which is great. But we also know that biologically, our cells are happier and freer when we're exercising, we're moving, we're breathing clean oxygen. Just look what happens at the cell level when you bring in oxygen and you detox the body. So just going back to maybe getting a grounding mat, relaxing on the grounding mat at the end of the day, sleeping with a grounding sheet, go for more walks in nature. When we're done with this, we have this beautiful pond on the property, and I have so many geese that come to visit. I think that they know it's a retreat center, so they all come to live here, like 60 of them. And I'm going to go and sit. I'm like, I have not sat by my pond in months because we've been so busy working. I ground, blah, blah, but I can't wait to go out there and sit there and just talk to my geese, and put my feet in the pond and relax a little bit. So I think we just need to take the time to remember that we're electrical, and we
Yeah.
need to eat minerals because we're electrical. We need them. And then number 2, we need to discharge. So those are the 2 main things that you asked about in the beginning. And those are the actual 2 things that we just talked about. That's really cool.
Well, it's interesting because I have 3 boys, and my oldest is almost 32. I somehow, before I even knew it was a thing, just intuitively, I used to make my kids, I'd say, go outside and ground. And I'd make them take their shoes off and go out in the yard. and put their feet on the earth. And it wasn't anything that I don't even think I learned it. It was just, I think it was just because as a child growing up, that's what I did. We ran around barefoot all the time and in the 70s. And then, now it's like your child has to, can't go out of the yard. They can't leave, I used to come home when the lights came on. But so I started telling them, like when my oldest was probably like 4 or 5, go outside and ground. And I used to make him take his shoes off and go outside. So I love that. I think that oftentimes, we intuitively know our intuition is so spot on, but we're just being told by, professionals or other people things. And I love that you're a conspiracy theorist because like when
Now,
my
how
kids are,
did you know that?
well, when my kids are little and I was the health and wellness chair for their schools. And I had kept telling my husband that Monsanto was evil. And I'm like, and he was like, you're just conspiracy theorist. I'm like, no, they're controlling the food, the world's population. They're controlling the food for the world. And I was like, all the things that they do. This is back even before the World Wide Web existed as well. I just knew that like our food is being polluted, being just fed a bunch of, lies. So I haven't done the deep dive on, the conspiracy theory about electricity, but now you're going to have me, going down that rabbit hole because, I do think that we are being, deceived by big pharma, big government, everything. So I love that you're a conspiracy theorist. So welcome to the club.
Well, it's like conspiracy realist because
I know. I
I've
know.
done this for so many years that you're looking at electricity and I look at people heal and I'm like, of course it works. We had grounding pods outside. Like, of course grounding works. And the lady today was so cute. One of my clients today, I had quite a few, but one of them was like, I'm afraid to get off of my acid reflux medication. I'm like, honey, you've been on it for over 30 years. Is it working? She's like, well, no, I still have acid reflux. I'm like, okay, so at this point, we have to decide, are we willing to try something new from someone who has literally watched countless thousands of acid reflux cases go away in a week? Or are you going to keep, and that's the interesting thing is our school, a third of our students are all medical. Medical doctors graduate our school all the time. They take our school, the nurses take, the LPNs take our, chiropractors take our course, dentists take our courses because we're teaching the science of natural healing and we're bridging Western and Eastern medicine for good. There's a time and a place. I'm going to want to run a test or send you to the emergency room. If you cut off your leg with a chainsaw, I'll put cayenne pepper on it to stop the bleeding and get you out of here. Because what am I going to do with a broken leg? So like there's a time and a place. And I think we really are at the cusp of watching people discover that and start utilizing both Eastern and Western medicine. It's intimidating for some of the doctors because they still literally tell my clients there's no parasites in America. And I'm like, it's 2026. Have you not watched anything on social media? Of course there's parasites. I see them in the blood. We've been seeing that. People have been bringing me parasites in little containers when they do their parasite cleanse because they want to show me. We see it all the time. We just have to and I know we know from research and even from the medical schools alone, it takes 17 years to have a study become something the pharmaceutical company has been able to make a product for and then get it to our doctors. We don't have 17 years right now for a lot of the clients I work with. And who wants to wait 17 years to have energy and feel great? So I'm with you on that. Yeah, there's too much quote unquote conspiracy that's so real right now that I think a lot of people are already they're questioning. I know it because we have it every day. People come to clinic. I don't want to go to a doctor. And I try to, every time I tell them when they say that, I'm like, don't blame your doctor. Your doctor doesn't know. Your doctor was not taught. Your doctor has a debt, a very big debt. And the only way to pay that is through pharmaceuticals and from medical reimbursements. And that's what they're doing. They are doing exactly what they were trained to do. We can't be angry with them because they're nervous or maybe unaware of what we know, other parts of other thoughts. And I don't know. I suppose it goes into there's two really mindsets. There's a scientific mind, which is always asking it. Everybody on this podcast has that. They're looking for answers. They're asking why. They're asking how. They're asking where. They're not going to stop until they get answers. And then there's the closed mind, which, well, I was taught this from my religion. I was taught this from my government. I was taught this at college. I was taught this from medical school. So that's it. It's gold. I'm done. And I think that this is a great awakening because people are shedding that mindset and they're starting to question more. Now they just have to find out, where do I question? And I will boldly tell you it's not AI. I will boldly tell you it's not GDP, because for fun, I'll throw a health question in there just so I can laugh, because they don't know. They don't know. It's programmed. They don't have the answers. So we need to be careful and we need to bond together.
So, what does, I mean, I'm so enticed to do a retreat with you because I'm like, it sounds amazing. What does that look like, a retreat experience at Lily Fields?
Yeah. Well, we're
Yeah, and
new.
just so you know, I'm near you, so I'm trying to talk Elizabeth into coming down, and then us
Yeah.
come to a retreat.
Yeah, that would be great. We want to do an influencer retreat where all the podcasts I've been on, we can invite them and you can come out for 3 days. But the 7 to 10 day to 2 month retreats, people come and it's basically they just use our equipment and we help them. We can work with them on protocols. We do not diagnose. We can tell you, hey, this looks like spirochetes. Actually, this looks like a lot of spirochetes, which is Lyme. You can see it in the blood. It's not like it's, you can see it. You can't unsee gut toxins. You can't not see candida or mold or bacteria. We just teach people what to look for. And then we teach them about food. We teach them to make the food. So the retreats are really cool right now. And they're changing in fall because we have access to some incredible, some really, really neat things coming in fall. But it's kind of mind blowing. So we'll stick with right now. So right now we have our surgeon. We fly her in once a month. She does ultrasounds of all the organs, all the major organs in a male or a female. And that happens once a month here. So we do that the first day of the retreat because we want to know, how is your gallbladder? What kind of stones do you have? What's going on with the kidneys? And was a surgeon for 28 years in Russia. Now she is stationed in San Diego and does a bunch of ultrasounds. So she comes in. We do thermal imaging. Love thermal imaging. It's the only thing I'd ever recommend for breast or dental work. It's incredible. Well, CT scan, a couple more things for dental, but we do thermal imaging. We do the live blood cell and dark blood cell analysis. We do a bunch of biofeedback. We have a bunch of equipment then people use. They do, hyperbaric chamber every day or every other day, foot baths, lymphatic drainage suits, the sauna. We have 4 PEMF units. We just bought a really phenomenal unit. Just got in last night because we do specialize in Lyme. We have a lot of people that have Lyme disease. And so we do a lot of red light, methylene blue, and then we have this particular unit that is incredible. And so we have a lot. We massage, traditional acupuncture, a lot of traditional Chinese medicine. Some people do massage every day, especially if they're looking to lose weight or detoxify heavily or if they have pinched nerves. We have our massage artists right now are all from Eastern Europe, so they're trained a little bit differently. There's not pretty music and flowery things going on. You're going to get cupping that's going to scare the hell out of you. It's really crazy stuff. It's really cool, right? So it's really, you don't get scared. It's just really wild. So we have a lot of fun. And then we have the property. It's beautiful. We put in a permaculture farm. We aren't growing anything this season yet. Well, we're growing some things, but it's not major. But we did put in all the greenhouses so that hopefully by next spring, we'll have the greenhouses all ready to roll and all the permaculture sets so people can come and then during the retreats go out and pick what they're going to be eating and using. And we have big plans. We just, it's millions for this and millions for that and millions for that. And we did just spend a considerable amount, millions, buying a protocol from the late Dr. Haver. And he passed away, but his protocols were amazing. And so we actually just cleared the ability to use them all here at Lily Field. So that's going to be a really big addition when we finish the additions on the property and we're able to open that up. So we're excited. Right now, you just come as friends and you leave us even better ones. So
Sounds amazing.
It's very relaxed. We keep them small. Our retreats are 6 to 10 people. We did 12 one time. That was a little too much. So we like to keep them small so you get lots of personalized attention. The prices are pathetically too inexpensive right now, but it's because we're growing and we want people to know that we're here and how it feels to help them. And also it's hard. Finances are hard for a lot of people right now because of our current state of affairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have POTS.
Oh,
That's something that you guys could help with?
Yeah, I wrote a book on that. I don't. That's POTS is just part of dysautonomia, which is an autonomic nervous system disorder. For 4.5 years, my youngest daughter, I have 12 children. 7 came out of my body, 3 came with my husband, and then we adopted one. And one of my students died and left me her daughter. Craziest, most marvelous story ever, but it's real. And so our youngest daughter, actually, she just stopped breathing and stopped digesting and stopped moving bowels. Like everything just like stopped. And she was bedridden for about 4.5 years. This is what I do for a living. So talk about being frustrated. We went to hundreds of doctors and medical doctors, naturopathic doctors, chiropractors, everything you can think of, over 4.5 years until I discovered then I heard this word dysautonomia. And I was like, what is that? And they're like, oh, I looked it up. It was a death sentence. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. But some of the things that Lily's dealing with are part of dysautonomia. She had EDS, she had POTS, she had all sorts of issues. And so I studied dysautonomia, and here is the autonomic nervous system disorder that was a death sentence since the early 1800s. But Lily's doing phenomenal right now. We were able to, once I knew what it was pretty easy to reverse it. Again, I think I started with the phrase, if you're in fear of something, it's because we don't understand it. So anybody, and I'm just going to put it out there, I don't care what religion you are or where your religious views are on medicine, because I think sometimes that's a church of modern medicine. But I believe that if anybody puts you in fear, you walk away. That person doesn't know how to help you. If they put you in fear, it's because they don't have the answers to actually help you. But they do have the answers to manipulate you. And I know that's a bold statement. I don't care who your pastor is, but if they put you in fear, fear is not where God wants you, because you can't grow in fear. Just so you know, at a cell level, your cells will never be well if you're in fear. Every single one of your 50 to trillion cells cannot be in growth and fear at the same time. I can show that to you under a microscope. You can speak words under a bunch of cells, and you can watch what happens when you put them into fear, and you can watch what happens when they're full of light and love. This is nothing new. This has been spoken of and talked about forever. But you cannot grow a healthy organ if you're in fear. You cannot repair tissue if you're in fear. Just as you can't get closer to God if you're in fear of God. That doesn't work that way. That's like saying, oh, you're going to grow closer to your mom when you're afraid of your mom. No, I'm not going to grow closer to you if I'm afraid of you. And so maybe that's number 3 I should talk about more often, because if we're in a state of fear, oh my gosh, I have to take all this medication at 10 and 4 and 6 and 9. I got to have this doctor's appointment. My mom's got to go to this doctor's appointment. I've got to do this. Who's going to make the food? My gracious me. Now we have ourselves in a fit to be tied, and we feel like that. And how can you ever heal? You can't heal at the same time you're in fear. And anxiety puts you into fear. Who doesn't go into worry? Ego is edging God out. When we worry, we're in ego because we think we're in charge. We're actually not in charge, but we think we are because you have the bills to pay and you have everything in front of you to run your business and organize everything. But I think just pulling back to rest and digest during not only our meals, but during our life is going to be really helpful for people. So a lot of this is mindset, which we do cover at a retreat. So during the retreat, it's not just food and all the amazing therapies. Oh, we have one of the best mindset leaders in the world as part of our school and part of our program here, Lamont Wilcox. And so he owns Fly. It is for your life. And it is absolutely amazing what he teaches. And it's neuroscience, but it's not NLP. It's not your traditional science. Yes, we talk about myelin sheaths. We talk about all that, but it's a different approach, and it works. I have seen miracle after miracle by just changing this. And that's why that my dear client, who was the one that I was with right before this podcast, I'm begging her to come to the retreat. I will take a GoFundMe up to get her at the retreat. Like, she needs to be here because she's not going to live long if she doesn't come. I know that. That's the hardest part about this job, is you can look at people and it's just not. People need to love and be loved and relax a little bit more than they are right now. So I'm so happy and proud of you for drinking your lemon water in the morning and doing your salts. And like, just you doing that is you cognitively going, I gotta be first right now. Because really, do you wake up in the morning and drink water, or just go right to coffee? What are you putting into your lazy river, ladies? What are we doing? Are we literally really going to coffee because we just can't make it to the morning? If that's the problem, you are all going to come to my retreat. I'll make it free if I don't care. You need to come. Because if we're running to coffee because we aren't going to get through the morning, we have an adrenal issue. We have some lymphatic stuff going on. And that's all something that can easily be reversed. Really, this isn't rocket science. The by the way, rocket science is easy, but this isn't that hard to understand the human body. You've just been told it's hard to understand the human body, but it's not. I guarantee it.
Well, tell our listeners where they can find out more about the retreat center and about you.
Well, I am awful at social media. I believe I'm going to hire someone because I really suck. But I did several months ago create zuzuunleashed.com because I just don't care what I talk about. Ask me anything. And PowerPoints always drove me crazy. So I always made one, but I never followed it. Just put it up there for pictures. And so Zuzu Unleashed has a link to everything: the retreat center, our online store, and the holistic health educators. We do have a career fair every single month for holistic health educators because the world is wide awake right now. They're waking up everywhere. They want to know how the body works. They want to, and a lot of medical community, I'm telling you, the medical community is waking up just like we are. This is new for them as well. And they are coming into the programs. So we do encourage people to get educated, even if it's just for themselves. We can take a basic program that's just for you. We have, I don't know, 60, 80, 100 different courses right now. And so we do really encourage education, even if it's just for the family. And I will put something out there. I don't know if it's live yet or not for the public. It is live in our school, but we actually created something they called it Ask Zuzu. I did not choose that name. I'm very honored, but it is everything I've spoken and written, in the last 10 years, everything Amy has spoken, of the most amazing medical doctors and professionals on our staff, all of the teachings that we've taught our students, everything is in an AI system. So, and then I wrote a book on how to reverse at home the top 80 health issues. That's now 325. All of it is in this system. So if you have Parkinson's, you can say, what do I do for Parkinson's? And you can ask Zuzu, and boom, shoot, sheets of everything pull out. So this is closed AI. I do not want influence from anybody else out there except the people I have vetted, the people I work with, and the people who have helped people get well for decades. Those are the people in our program. So when it's Ask AI and it's Ask Zuzu, you are only getting what Holistic Health Educator stands by. We did, and we are uploading some of our favorite product lines into Ask Zuzu because they are ones we definitely stand by. They're absolutely incredible. They're not MLMs. They're not cut and sliced with other products. They're very clean. So we do have some of those because I love Standard Enzyme. I love Microbiome Labs. I'm a little nervous right now because Bill Gates came in with some of his technology to Microbiome Labs, and we're like, okay, we're keeping an eye on this, but their products haven't changed at all. And for those Bill Gates lovers out there, then you won't have a problem with that. But for some of us, I'm like, okay, we're going to keep an eye on some things, but it at least gives you a safe place to go. And again, I'm not hating on Bill Gates or anyone. I'm just saying those who are looking for alternative thoughts or alternative suggestions, a scientific mind always asks why, right? They always ask why and how. So if you're one of those, please keep it up because you're doing the best thing you can.
I love that you're pointing out that things are changing. I just hope, which is what I would feel like we need right now. And so I love hearing that you're seeing things shift. I feel like I've seen things shift, but I also just this is my natural interest. So on TikTok, I follow a bunch of, functional health doctors. So I am seeing more, but I didn't know if it's just the algorithm and what I follow. But so it's nice to hear that things actually are shifting.
Every single day, people come to us and our clients and they're like, I don't want to go, or I'm nervous. What do I do with this pharmaceutical? And we can't, by law, take anybody off a pharmaceutical. We can explain what it does. They can do their research. They can meet with somebody. We really have seen so many people just want to be well now. They've been fine that their symptom isn't appearing. But what are the side effects of that? And so, and if we're hushing our symptoms, how can we ever get well? Because we're silencing that little button in the car. We just pulled the wires to the button that's telling us what's wrong with our car. We can't do that. So yeah, it is. I will attest to that. Now it's hard if you go to Disney World, which my husband, I am not a Disney World person. I'm not a Disney. I'm not any of that 33 thing. But I'll tell you, we go to Disney World because my husband loves us. So every year we go, and we always take somebody with us. So if you want to come, let me know. But it's super fun to go, but it's so hard because I look at society. I'm like, really, we still look like this? Because I'm like you. We're in our world. We get to meet with people that are actively doing this. And then you go someplace in the public and you're like, I want to bring you all home, Yeah. But I have noticed it's getting better because now even at Disney, you can get things that are gluten-free and organic and they're You can get chia seeds at Walmart, you guys. Hello. So, like, things are moving forward, and this is wonderful. Wonderful.
Well, you've given our listeners a lot to take in. It's such great information. Elizabeth and I are definitely going to have to plan to come and visit you guys at Lily Fields Retreat Center, maybe in the fall, Elizabeth. And we can do that. And if any of our listeners want to tag along, you can always reach out to us and let us know, because we would love to have a small group. We are just super appreciative for you sharing all of your knowledge, and just obviously, and even more so, your passion for, having people live their best life, be the healthiest that they can be. I know that it's one of my passions and one of Elizabeth's as well. It's one of the reasons why we do this podcast, and just try to bring the people that have the knowledge, to share, so that people can be informed and make better choices. So thank you so much, Zuzu.
Well, thank you for having me on. And I sign all of my emails, everything, with Zuzu, the lady in Hawkinsville, Georgia, that loves your guts, because I may love your guts more than you do sometimes, listeners. And you wake up tomorrow morning and put your hand on your gut and your hand on your heart and your pancreas, and just thank them for getting you this far, and tell them you're going to love them more. Because when you start loving your body, like I love your body, you're going to see some things change, and it's really exciting. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, make sure that you have hit the follow button on the podcast, so that you can stay in the loop each week when we release a new episode, and so you don't miss hearing from people like Zuzu, who love your guts.
And follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and watch full episodes on YouTube. We will see you next week. Have a great week, ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been a production of Estrogen Dropouts, LLC.